Once there were many, now there are a few. Hunters, killers of the world's filth. Witchers, the ultimate killing machine. And amongst them is a legend, Geralt of Rivia. But are you aware of the other Witchers? In this video, I'll be ranking all the Witchers that appear in the game from the weakest to the strongest. Now excuse me, I am a little sick, so my voice might be a bit odd. I'll be ranking them based on their feats and what the lore says about them. Not just I like this Witcher more than the other, although I think everyone can say that Geralt is their favorite. Now I will be only including them from the games, like the first Witcher game to the third, as well as Thronebreaker. I will not be including the Gwent game because there are just way too many to count. And I have counted a total of 16 Witchers. At number 16 I have is Leo. Leo was an orphan from the Second Northern War. Vesemir had just picked him up and brought him to Kaer Morhen to train. Although he never went to Witcher mutations, and he was one of those rare Witchers that were actually happy to be on the path, complete opposite of Lambert and Berengar. Because of a lack of mutations and experience, he just basically is like a strong human with like abilities, and unfortunately for him, he dies before he can even set out on the path, killed by the professor. So lack of feats, no mutations, I just have him at 16th. At number 15 I have Kiyan, the Mad Witcher. Now, since we do see him, he was not at his, max strength. He was basically like a husk of his former self. He was tortured, poisoned, burned, starved, like everything you can think of. And at the end, he got possessed by a demon. And unlike Reynold, he was basically mentally dead, but physically alive. Although he does keep his skills, which is why I have him above Leo. It is also fair to assume that he's also like way weaker than he was naturally, but then again, his feats that we have him when he was a normal human are simple basic. He was sent to guard an expedition, but in reality he was just there to like take the diagrams for himself and split it amongst the prince and kill everyone there. And the prince was so impressed that he actually offered him a position in his guard, which just shows how impressed like a prince was. So that's kind of what there's basically not much to go off of him. 14th I have is Reynold. Reynold was both a Witcher and a blacksmith who was actually really talented. He was meant to meet his friend Osmond to discuss further plans, but he took a contract in the Devil's Pit by the Cult of Eternal Fire. While Reynold did figure out a way to beat the Miasmo, ultimately failed and the ghost had possessed him. He potentially could have survived there, honestly, if the Cult of the Eternal Fire had sent another person to help, or even Osmond, his friend, would have found him. But unfortunately, the cult burned all evidence and they basically lied, and Reynold ultimately died. One thing about Reynold is that he was a young Witcher, very little experience, and he's pretty mentally tough as he was there for 300 years. Not to mention 300 years ago, there were a lot more monsters back then, so he had to like probably fight a lot. At number 13 I have is Berengar. Berengar is a Witcher from the first game, very similar to Lambert, and he hates being a Witcher and he felt he was robbed of a great life. He wanted friends, family, kids, be normal, but the Witchers robbed him of that. He often ran away from Kaer Morhen only to come back. As a Witcher, he honestly kind of weak because he's a coward. He fears Salamandra and actually helped them attack Kaer Morhen. He ultimately got killed by Geralt or Azar Javid. It's a sad tale and I really do feel bad for the guy, but he is kind of weak though. He also lost to a Chort, which, don't get me wrong, Chorts are powerful, especially an ancient Chort, the one he fought, but that is a fight a Witcher should have won. It's similar to Reynold in that way where they both are blacksmiths, although I will say that at the end he did kind of redeem himself. Ultimately he dies by the hand of the mage, Azar Javid, which I guess is not really an anti-feat because Azar Javid is meant to be a powerful mage. Which is sad because if he was alive, we might have seen him in The Witcher 3 defend Kaer Morhen instead of attack it. At number 12 I have Yod Karadin. He did turn merchant, but he has also been on the path a lot. He is an experienced Witcher from the School of the Cat. He also had joined a mercenary group, so meaning he does have a lot of fighting experience. Ultimately he can die, but that's at the hands of two Witchers. So I would say he's probably just a normal Witcher. Like this is probably where Kiyan would have been if Kiyan didn't go crazy. He basically lacks the weakness of all the Witchers below him, but he's just not powerful enough as the Witchers above him. At number 11, 10, and 9 I have a tie between three Witchers, that being the Mysterious Assassin, Akiz, and Seret. Let me go with the Mysterious Assassin first. Not much is known about him. He tried to kill King Foltest, only failed because Geralt was there and ended up killing him. And honestly his feat comes from just the fact that he was able to fight the Wild Hunt and live to tell the tale. Granted, it was 5 Witchers against the Wild Hunt in an open area. There were just too many riders and they just ended up stalemating, which, I mean, is no joke. Lambert could get killed by the Wild Hunt by a few members. Akis and Sarah also are no joke either. They also fought on Wild Hunt. Although the thing about Akis and Sarah is that they both teamed up against Geralt and they still lost. Like Akis loses and dies during the fight, and Sarah could be killed by Shile or Shele, however you pronounce her name, or by some soldiers where he's tortured and killed. Just the feat of them being able to fight the Wild Hunt is enough to put him this high. Alright, now this is where the list where people will probably start disagreeing with me the most, and a lot of people are not gonna like this one. At number 8 I have is Lambert. Lambert is a prickly witcher who is similar to Berengar, that he hates being a witcher, but not to that extreme. He still finds joy where he can, like asking someone to kill his own friend and then hang himself. Like, what the hell, Lambert? Lambert is young compared to like other witchers, but has been on the path a lot and has just a lot of experience. He has fought many enemies like ogres, vampires, wild hunt warriors. Although he can't die by a wild hunt warriors, it was basically due to numbers, and it was basically alone against them. Much as the 5 witchers who fought the wild hunt, who were basically had the back to each other, you know, like help out one the other one. I'm assuming that at least. Plus they were in an open area, while Lambert was just literally jumped. Number 7 I have is Gaetan. A lot of people might be confused, but for someone who appears just for one side quest, he surprisingly has enough lore on him to put him here. Although he did not fight the wild hunt, he did kill a Shelmar, which is no easy feat, especially when Shelmar can actually kill witchers. He also kills a Leshen, terrorizing a village, which also is no easy feat. Leshens are this powerful creatures who are sometimes even worshipped. Another thing to consider is Gaetan was actually injured when he massacred the village and when he fought Geralt. I'm not saying Lambert can't kill a Shelmar or kill a Leshen. It's just that we never see Lambert fight like a tough enemies except for the Wild Hunt warriors, and let's be honest, a Leshen and a Shelmar is way tougher than the Wild Hunt warrior. At number 6 I have Evo of Belhaven, or however you pronounce it. Evo is a witcher that appears in the Thronebreaker game. Evo was sent to Yithgis to kill the Ganachora, a powerful monster believed by the elves to be a fallen god and by humans to be a princess who died in the swamps and came back as a vengeful spirit. In reality, Ganachora is just a monster, plain and simple. It is a relic type monster, and this one is called the Mistress of Yithgis, just a powerful one. Evo, thinking that he could beat her all alone, learned that she was not alone and has an entire army of monsters by her side. He was injured and saved by Meve and her entire army. Meve was so impressed by his fighting skill that she offered him a rank. He declined and went to get some potion and oils. Even after this, he still thought he could beat her. Now this is like pretty normal feats, but one thing to consider here is that he might have just killed an entire army of monsters, as he most likely encountered Ganachora and Ganachora just went on her way, leaving him to deal with like a whole army of monsters, which, if that is true, is like no easy feat. That's the only reason I have him this high, otherwise he probably would have been below Lambert. He still thought he could come back and fight Ganachora and her entire army and win if he just had potions with him. And yeah, if he did fight an entire army of monsters, then he's just crazy. At number 5 and 4, I have another tie. People are gonna hate me for this, but I have a tie between Letho and Eskel. Let me go over Letho first. Letho is probably the most physically strongest witcher alive, only second or third if you include Arnikid and Gerd. He is rightfully placed really high in all these ranking videos, but the thing about his feats is that they're pretty simple if you think about it, except for few. Like, yeah, he kills the kings of the north, but then think about it, he had a lot of help from Scoia'tael, his fellow witchers, and a mage called Shile. Even assassinating kings is something any witcher could do. Of course, he has a feat of fighting the Wild Hunt actually twice, and both times he survives. First time in the Hangman's Tree and second time at Kaer Morhen. And for his best feat, he did best Geralt, and even though Geralt did have his memory loss, he did not lose any fighting abilities, and even bested him in an Ard battle. And even in the last fight, if you decide to kill Letho, he still ends up injuring Geralt before dying. Now, people might be confused why I have Eskel tied to Letho. Although Eskel does not appear that much, he does have a lot of feats and lore to him. He has the same experience as Geralt, like he has been said a few times, and even has the same skills as him, and he has better magic potential than Geralt. He also fought many powerful monsters like Basilisk, Catacans, Manticore, which are no joke honestly, and he was hunting for Zulus, which are also no joke. His best feat probably comes from fighting Cranthir. Cranthir, if you know anything about him, he's like this genetic hybrid mutation. We saw our Witchers, but this guy was like to create Cranthir wasn't like Eisen level planning where two people were gifted with magic were married and then so on and so on and so on. After many generations, Cranthir was born through this, and during the fight with Cranthir, Eskel was actually tying to him. They were both equals until Cranthir pulled out magic. But one thing to consider is that Askel never used his Witcher signs during the fight at all, and we know that his signs are more powerful than Geralt's. I mean, just think about the fight against Imrith. While Imrith had Geralt held up high, Geralt then used Igni to kill him. Askel maybe could have done something similar, but we just never see it. The fight between Letho and Askel would probably could go either way, since we know that Letho could beat Geralt and also lose to him, while Askel is like equal to Geralt, at least lore-wise, which probably is not true because Geralt just has more experience overall, like if you play the game and all that. Not saying Askel doesn't have experience, it's just we never see what he's up to. While Letho almost dies to a Slizzard's tail, Askel actually gets ambushed by Manticore, which is a very fast Manticore, and even his medallion can detect it, while Askel can like react to him and kill him. So honestly, a fight with them could go either way. Another thing to consider is even when Geralt, Lambert, and Letho are together, Geralt thinks they still can't beat Imrith, while Askel is here 1v1 Cranthir. Granted, Askel did lose because of Cranthir's teleporting ability, but to be fair, Askel also never used his sign, so I'm just gonna put them as a tie for now. At number 3 I have is Vesemir. Vesemir is the oldest Witcher and by far has the most experience. We don't have much feats of him. We know that he's generally respected by like every Witcher there is. I mean, just think about his age. Except for Eskel, Evo, and Geralt, literally every other Witcher can die, and yet Vesemir lived long enough. He also drove away a group of vampires, led by Regis actually, which I don't know, fighting a group of vampires is no joke, and yet she even managed to injure Regis, a higher vampire. While trying to help Ciri escape, Imrith attacks Vesemir, and Vesemir kinda actually makes quick work of him and easily could have killed him when he was on the ground, but did not. He was also focusing on Ciri while fighting Imrith and even bested the King of the Wild Hunt. Granted, he would only fight with one hand because he was holding on to Ciri. I mean, that just shows how much skillful he actually is, being able to just almost kill Imrith like that. Now, I don't know why he didn't use the Igni sign to kill him. Maybe he thought his death would actually just set Ciri free, so he just let it happen. Either way, Vesemir is a badass. She has a lot of experience, injured a high vampire, and almost killed Imrith. At number 2, I have Ciri. Now, calm down. I know she's not an official Witcher in The Witcher 3, but since I have Leo, might as well have Ciri. And yes, I know in The Witcher 4 she does become a Witcher. This is just Ciri from The Witcher 3. Now, Ciri is a bit of an annoying character to fight because she's just like a one spam character. Like, remember Cranthir? Like how he had an advantage over Eskel because of his teleporting abilities? Now imagine Ciri with it, who is literally called the Lady of Space and Time. She also bests Cranthir on their first interaction, but loses on the second one. Most likely from the explosion, which Cranthir most likely tanked because of his armor. Now, if you just had regular Ciri with teleporting ability, that itself is broken. But what she does at the end, where she just envelops the space and time power around her and into her sword, so basically she can just like durability negate you and just kill you with one hit. Which surprisingly does not work on Cranthir. Maybe it was a gameplay mechanic or whatever, but Cranthir was actually using his own space and time magic ability to deflect hers. Now, I will say Witchers do have great reflexes, so the Witchers that are below her could honestly just dodge her attacks and land the killing ability. Like, I can see someone like Letho, Eskel, or Vesemir doing that, especially considering the Manticore feat with Eskel, where Eskel didn't see it coming, but then at the same time he reacted fast enough. Ironically, Manticores also have a very high toxic poison to them, which Eskel did dodge. Or she can just do that scream attack she does at Kaer Morhen that almost kills everyone around her. Ciri's skill wise, honestly I would put her even below like Cirith, Akiz, and the Mysterious Assassin, but because of her hacks abilities, and especially the one hit kill, like I don't know why she would give this power up for Witcher mutations. Weird if you ask me. At number 1, Geralt of Rivia. No surprise to anyone. Only reason he is above Ciri because he has way more experience than her. And during the final fight, everyone thinks that she cannot even fight the Wild Hunt generals, even with the space and time ability. But here's Geralt killing literally all 3 generals. And with Cranthir and Eredin literally back to back. He did almost lose to Imrith, and we know a rookie mistake that Geralt might make a few times. Even lost to Letho. But then on the next scene, he's like fighting higher vampires and beating them. Like Dettlaff, like who might honestly, in my opinion, might be stronger than the Wild Hunt general just based on the lore and the feat of how vampires can do. Him and along with Regis literally fight a bunch of vampires in Toussaint, similar to what Vesemir did, and potentially something similar to Evo. I mean, there's literally too many feats of Geralt where I don't know where to even start. Like, let's just talk about he was able to beat Gauntlett Odam's Riddle, who's like this like intelligent entity, and even the Unseen Elders had thought he had killed Geralt, only were able to show up at his face and then threaten him, knowing full well that the Unseen Elder can kill him at any time. He beat dragons, manticores, higher vampires, fires, all sorts of crazy shenanigans. In the fight against Siri, I could honestly see him just using like Yarden or Ard to just like trap her and then like kill her, I guess. I mean, Siri's space and time magics are cool and all, but like she still couldn't beat Cranthur, and Geralt beat Cranthur and Eredin back to back. Well, that's my ranking of the Witchers of who would be the weakest or strongest. Feel free to tell me why I'm wrong, show me love. And also be sure to like, comment, subscribe, as it generally takes a lot of time to make these. And just to help the channel, just show a little bit of support. Do subscribe, I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. And just show love. Like I said, it's not really easy to make these. At least I know someone's watching it and enjoying it. Thank you so much for watching. Maybe tell me what you want to see in the future. Like if you want me to rank like Elden Ring bosses from weakest or strongest or whatever shenanigans. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.
That's about it. See ya.